Hip-hop is one of the biggest topics and things discussed about by tons of people all over the world. However, the question often comes to mind of who is the current face of hip-hop? I'm sure a lot of people would say Playboi Carti. Playboi Carti has been one of the most influential hip-hop artists since he blew up in 2017. I'm sure other people will say Drake is still the current face of hip-hop, which makes a ton of sense because a Drake cosign on practically any song is a guaranteed hit. From a more street side of hip-hop, I think a ton of people would say NBA YoungBoy is the current face of hip-hop. You can make a good argument that NBA YoungBoy is the face of hip-hop right now because of how much he streams annually, as well as the amount of albums he puts out year after year. I'm not personally a huge YoungBoy fan. I like a few songs, but he's never been a guy I'm hyped to hear new music from. However, YoungBoy has a huge fan base that absolutely loves that he puts out music so often. However, I think performances are another important part to being the face of hip-hop. Unfortunately, YoungBoy hasn't been able to perform in quite some time because he's been and is currently on house arrest. Personally, I'm not going to say YoungBoy, in my opinion, is the current face of hip-hop. However, I think we should add Travis Scott to the picture. I know what you're thinking. Travis hasn't released a solo project since 2018 and has been more affiliated with brand deals rather than new music. Yes, all of that is true, but Travis Scott has released many fire singles including Highest in the Room, Mafia, and all of his features on Heroes and Villains. Also to mention, Travis Scott is performing again after the Astroworld tragedy, and from the clips it seems like he's back. I've also talked about this before, but to mention again, Utopia has been highly anticipated since Travis Scott announced it. Fans year after year have been eagerly waiting, and I think Travis Scott will be the face of hip-hop once again after Utopia releases. Now, I would like to say Playboi Carti is probably the guy that people who are more tuned into hip-hop would say is the current face of hip-hop. To be fair, it's probably correct currently. Playboi Carti can very easily just post one tweet or Instagram picture and he is immediately the most talked about celebrity. I'm sorry, but Drake, Travis Scott, and NBA YoungBoy do not have that kind of influence. You may be able to say that about Travis Scott and Drake, but not to the level of Playboi Carti. Drake is always posting on his Instagram story, and you see Travis Scott posting Instagram pictures all the time, and yes, they get reposted and shared a lot, but it's never to the extent of Playboi Carti, where it's like people are just eagerly like, oh my gosh, new Carti post. It's crazy. Sure, they all have influence, but Playboi Carti has been able to cultivate a fan base that is so diehard that no matter what he does, they'll ride for him. You could say the same about the other artists as well, including YoungBoy, because they have diehard fan bases, but it's not at the same level as, to say, Playboi Carti's and YoungBoy's, I'd even say. YoungBoy, like I mentioned earlier, has a huge fan base that loves his music. However, I just don't see YoungBoy having the same amount of influence on the entire hip-hop scene as Playboi Carti. He could have more influence on the street side of things, but I will be honest, I am not very tuned in with the street side of hip-hop. I do like some of the street songs, and I'm not gonna lie, I do like some YoungBoy songs, and I like Lil Durk, and I like Lil Baby. I'm just not as tuned in as someone who listens to underground street rappers is what I'm getting at. So I'm not necessarily sure how much influence YoungBoy really has had on the underground in the street side of things. I think the most insane part about Playboi Carti is that he has so much less music than the other artists I mentioned before, yet he's still on top. He's still the guy that people want to hear from. Most impressively, he's the guy people want to be. I think that is one of the other really important things to being the face of hip-hop. You not only are a great musician and artist, you also are able to style and dress yourself as a way that makes you seem like you are bigger than who you actually are. And with dressing a certain style and way, you'll get fans and youth that will want to be like you and they will dress like you. With all that being said, I think it's clear why I think Playboi Carti is the current face of hip-hop. He has the entire hip-hop scene in the palm of his hand. I do like Travis Scott, and I think he could take over with Utopia if it's as good as I think it should be. However, again currently, Playboi Carti is that guy. He is him. You can just look at the amount of pages on Twitter and Instagram that talked about Playboi Carti leaks that just recently happened. Playboi Carti for sure did not pay them to promote that. They posted that knowing that it would get more views because Playboi Carti is such a hot topic. Social media companies know Playboi Carti is a needle mover, and Playboi Carti knows it as well. That's my take. I think Playboi Carti is the current face of hip-hop. Do you think Playboi Carti is the current face of hip-hop? If not, let me know who you think that currently is. Thanks for watching.